She leads the integrations engineering team at Scandit, where they focus on integrating Scandit's data capture SDK with mobile cross-platform frameworks like Capacitor, Flutter, Cordova, React Native, and others. And if you may know it, of course, but Scandit is a Zurich-based company. And we're going to hear all about it in just a moment from our guest, who has spent 5 years, over 5 years at Scandit now. She started her career with the company as an engineering intern, so worked her way up from the bottom, excuse me, and today is responsible for contributing to the company's core products, as well as helping develop the engineering team's strategy, management, and operations. Please welcome Petra Donka.
Thank you so much. All right. So, welcome everyone and good afternoon. As you've heard, I'm Petra. I'm the engineering lead for the integrations of Scandit, and today I'm here to talk to you about augmented reality solutions for the modern enterprise and how it can really improve efficiency and productivity for the employees of these businesses. So, what is augmented reality? I'll simply assume that most of you have already tried and used augmented reality and you have some understanding of what it is. Maybe you've used the IKEA app to check out if a new furniture item fits in your living room, or maybe you've used the Google Maps app that you can see here to navigate a new city that you've never been to. So you have this intuitive understanding of what AR is, but in simple terms, it basically blends the physical and the digital worlds through computer vision. That means that it uses the camera to do this, and as you can see here, it basically overlays additional information over the reality that you see through the camera. So what we're going to talk about today is take a quick intro at Scandit and see what we do. And that will give you a better context to understand the use cases and the examples that I'll walk you through after, to see how AR can help you get more relevant information, make easier decisions, and help you get things done faster. So let's get started. At Scandit, we create computer vision based solutions for the modern enterprise. That is, it means we create solutions for big companies that are camera based. And we have these different data capture possibilities that we enable these businesses to use that are primarily barcode scanning, but also ID scanning, for example, or text capture and object recognition, all kinds of different computer vision based solutions. And these solutions really help these businesses transform their core processes, and it enables them completely new ways of engaging with their employees, but also their consumers. So one of these computer vision based solutions that we help them use is augmented reality. And augmented reality helps them enable their employees and also consumers to engage with everyday objects in completely new ways. And that is how we try to help them be more efficient and more productive, and in the end, help them generate more revenue and help them succeed, hopefully, in the end, a bit better and easier. So that is what we do at Scandit, and I hope that will give you a better context to take a look at the examples and use cases that are coming next. So first, let's see how AR can help you get more relevant information. And the use case and the example that we will take a look at is an airline agent that wants to find out if someone can board a flight. We've all been there, we've taken flights, we've boarded planes, and you know that you have a boarding pass that you need to present when you board a flight at a gate. And you might have this boarding pass on your phone, you might have it printed, it might be printed at home, it might be printed at the airport, maybe you have it on your watch. And someone needs to check this boarding pass when you're boarding a flight. And there could be additional restrictions to boarding a flight. Maybe you have to present a test or a document. Maybe you need to have a visa for certain destinations. And when you're boarding a flight, these airline agents and these employees really need to make sure that you do fulfill these requirements to board that plane. So traditionally, what would happen is that someone needs to scan your boarding pass and they need to check the information that is related to that. And they usually check these that you've already probably seen and know with these little machines. They need to take your phone or they need to take the paper, they scan it. And these little machines that scan the boarding pass are connected to a computer that's connected to a screen. So that airline agent who is checking your boarding pass essentially sees all the information about your boarding pass on the screen. And it includes a lot of information that they don't actually care about at that moment, because they really only want to find out if you can board that flight, if they can let you board that flight, or if they maybe need to check some additional documents that are required for the destination. And with AR, this can be made a lot more efficient. They could have a mobile device in their hand, so they're not tethered to this computer anymore. And when they look at your boarding pass through the camera in this mobile device, they can see an overlay that you can see on this picture here that really shows them only the relevant information that they need. It could show maybe in red or in green if you fulfill the requirements already or not. And most of the time, these airlines already have this information. You might have had to upload maybe some confirmations or documents that is connected and tethered to your boarding pass and your ticket. So they already have this information. They can just make a check and tell these airline agents if you can board a flight or not. It's pretty simple. So if this person, this airline agent has a mobile device that they can just look at your boarding pass through and see these overlays, they're basically also not tethered to these machines anymore. So they can move around. For example, if someone is in a wheelchair, they can step towards them and they can move towards that person to be able to scan their boarding pass, and they don't need to take their phone or their boarding pass anymore. And in addition to that, they also don't have to have any interaction done on the software that they are using. So they don't have to, for example, tap anything. They're really just looking at their reality through this mobile device. And that makes things a lot more efficient and a lot easier and frictionless for these people checking these things. So we could quickly see that the estimated increase in efficiency could be maybe twofold. It's nothing very crazy, but it does make this process more efficient. And there is an additional value that the AR overlays provide, and that is that it reduces the human error factor in these processes, because these criteria fulfillments are basically visualized a lot better, and it's much less likely for these airline agents to make mistakes, and it's much easier for them to do these checks. So that's how you can get more relevant information through AR. Then augmented reality can also help people make easier decisions. And the use case that we will take a look at for this is a delivery man finding the next package that they need to deliver. So I think we all order a lot of things online and we all get a lot of packages delivered to us. And someone needs to deliver that package to us when we order something. And usually how this goes is that there is a delivery man who is driving around with a big van and it's full of packages in the back. And when they stop at your address, basically, for example, they know your address, they know your name, but then they need to find the package that they need to deliver to you. So they go to the back of the van and they take a look at the packages and they need to pick out which one to deliver. It's a pretty fair assumption that these vans are loaded already in a really efficient way, because they need to get these packages delivered pretty fast and really efficiently to make sure that the costs are down and they can get your package to you as soon as possible. So we can assume that when this delivery man opens the back of the van, it's already loaded in the right manner. So they might have to look at 5, maybe 10 packages to check which package they need to deliver to you. But they still need to take a look at the address and check each package one by one. And they need to compare your address with the package that's on with the address that is on the package and the name, and they need to make sure and they need to check all of these 5 or 10 packages until they find the one that they need to deliver to you. But with AR, they could just take out a mobile device, look at these packages through the camera, and they could just see overlays that tell them if that package is the right one that they need to deliver or not. And it's super easy. It's not just easier for them to make decisions, but basically this app does the decision for them. So they don't have to do that anymore. If we assume that there are maybe 5 or 10 packages that they need to check, we could maybe say that it takes 25 seconds to check that manually and make all these tiny evaluations and decisions, and maybe the addresses are very similar and maybe the names are weird and they have a hard time matching these. We could think that maybe it's 25 seconds to check these manually. Now, if you have a mobile device, you're really just looking through it. You don't actually read anything on these labels. It could be 5 seconds. There could be multiple packages in one camera frame, so you can look at multiple packages at the same time, and they are instantaneously evaluated by that app. And this delivery man doesn't need to do that anymore. So we could say that maybe it's 5 seconds instead of 25 seconds. So you have a very rough estimation of increase in efficiency that is maybe 5-fold. And again, we have an additional value here that AR can provide. And that is, again, it reduces human error by better visualizing these packages. And it tells these delivery men if that is the package that needs to be delivered. Because as I've said, it's pretty cumbersome for these people to evaluate and check these addresses and names. And maybe they get distracted, maybe they are tired, it's at the end of the day, and maybe the addresses are very similar, and maybe they can make mistakes. But the AR overlay will just tell them what to do. It makes this decision, and it makes these tiny evaluations for them. So it reduces that human error factor, again, in this case as well. So let's take a look at how AR can help people get things done faster. And the use case that we will take a look at here is a retail associate carrying out shelf management tasks. And how you can imagine this is, for example, in big grocery stores or in any retail store, there are a lot of shelves and there are a lot of products on all of these shelves. And there are these little labels under the products, for example, and there are also these little markers that show you which items and which products are on sale, but someone needs to maintain that shelf to make sure that you see the right information that is reality, that is the current truth on that day. So they need to update these shelves and these labels, and they need to update what is on sale and what is on offer that day, for example, or that week. They need to do that basically on a daily basis. They need to make sure that shelves are up to date. So traditionally, what they would do is they might go through the shelf and they check products one by one and see if they have a task associated with them, and then do that task. And it's pretty tedious. Or maybe they have a list, maybe on a device, but maybe even on paper. They have a list of tasks that they have to do, and then they have to take a look at that list and find the next item and then find that product on the shelf, which is, again, pretty cumbersome. And it might also get difficult because there might be very similar products that are maybe only different, maybe they only differ in size, or maybe a flavor, or maybe it's skim milk and not full fat milk. And these people need to make sure that they really update and do the task for the right product. And so this gets pretty slow and painful in some cases. But with AR, what they can do is they can, again, take a mobile device and they can look at this whole shelf through the camera in that device. And they can see the whole shelf and all the tasks that they have to carry out for that whole shelf. And you might notice that it's a bit different of a use case than the previous two examples, because there you had barcodes. And these AR overlays were basically anchored to these barcodes. The barcodes served as the markers for the augmented reality overlays. So if you basically move the barcode, then the AR overlay also moved with it. Now here you're looking at a whole shelf. And if you step back from a shelf and you have on your tiny little screen the whole shelf, obviously the barcodes and the labels are way too small to read, either for text capture or barcode scanning. So what happens here is that instead of the AR overlays being anchored to the barcode, the AR overlays are anchored to the shelf itself. There are hundreds and thousands of little markers that through computer vision, we can use to recreate a map of this shelf in 3D space. And you can really imagine this as any other map. So for example, if you want to find out where the Technopark is in Zurich, then you take out a map of Zurich, you take out the locations of the Technopark, and you find the location, and you know exactly where on that map the location that you're going for is. So it's very similar. With an AR map, we can also look at these tiny little markers, see which part of the shelf we are looking at, where you're standing, from which perspective you're looking at that shelf. And so we can figure out where exactly to put these overlays, because we know where that product is on that shelf. So we can tell you, yeah, there are 5 products here all across the shelf that you need to update the labels for. So people, retail associates, for example, get a much quicker and more effective overview of the tasks that matter to them, that they need to do. For example, they could also have filters on these views, and they could look at only a single task that they have to do. For example, they have a bunch of these stickers that they have to put on the labels for on-sale items so that you know that something is cheaper. They have a bunch of these stickers. Then they look at the whole shelf through this mobile device and through the camera, and they only see the tasks. They only see the items pointed out to them, but they have to put these little stickers, and it makes this process a lot faster and a lot more efficient. So we can see that this is a lot big, it's a much bigger change in efficiency than the previous examples. We could estimate, again, very roughly, just for sake of demonstration, that it could be a 10x efficiency increase for this process for these retail associates. And again, we have a new additional value that this process provides with AR, and that is that it enables completely new possibilities for these process flows, because through this camera and through the AR overlays, you have completely new perspectives on the shelf that were not possible previously, and you couldn't do in an old school traditional way of having a list or scanning and checking items one by one. Through this AR overlay and through this app, for example, this solution, you get a completely new perspective, and that enables you to do this process in completely new ways that you couldn't do before. So I can't switch this slide. No. Now it's good. So these examples were only really the tip of the iceberg, and these are only just a few industries and a few use cases that show you how AR can make things a lot more efficient and a lot more productive. These are a few of the industries that we at Scandit focus on, and these are the use cases that are just examples again, that we know AR works with really well. So this is just to give you an idea of further possibilities where AR can be useful, but there's a lot more that AR is useful for and that you could discover outside of these industries and outside of these use cases. So if you want to get started with AR, I highly suggest checking out Apple's and Google's SDKs. If you have Apple devices, Apple's AR kit is really great to get you started with AR experiences and solutions. If you have Android experience, or you have experience with web technologies, or you are a web developer, you could take a look at Google's SDK, which also gives you possibilities on the web. And my personal tip and my suggestion is Reality Composer. It's Apple's tool that complements ARKit. It's also only obviously for Apple devices, but it's really great. You can prototype and really quickly put together quick AR models in an app. And in that same app, you can use it to take a look at it in your environment and your reality. So without really just clicking things around or tapping around on your iPad or iPhone, you can put together these AR models and you can actually try them. And it's just pretty cool. So thank you very much. I hope that I could show you how AR can make processes more efficient and more productive. And if you have any questions, then you can find me after the session or shoot me an email at petra@scandit.com.
Okay, so I saw all of the use cases, and I can imagine you have an engineering background,
Yes.
right? Industrial or?
No, just software engineering.
Okay, all right. That's because of the efficiency off of that, maybe. But we saw some of those use cases that you've shared with us and across industries, and you've just given us a code to try it ourselves. Like, I'm curious because I wonder how are we seeing that apply today? Like where is it something that we are actively using already, or is it something that we are looking to use more towards in the future?
No, you can absolutely already use these things today. So for example, big enterprises hundreds of them are making the change already today to switch to these smart devices from traditional single purpose devices. These are actually called dedicated device replacements. So these enterprises use largely, or in some cases, exactly the same devices that we have in our pockets. And as I showed, there's Apple's ARKit and Google's SDK that enable all of these very common devices to create AR experiences for. So it's absolutely,
Here.
yes, it's today, it's now. Go ahead and in the evening do AR solutions.
I mean, you got to put that code back up. I think I need to try that. I have to say that I am a newbie when it comes to AR, so I'm curious to see what I would use it for. You know, like what I don't know, how that could fit into my life. You know, as a regular person. Anyway, so to wrap it up, what do you think? What's the one thing that people should remember about AR?
I think it's pretty much what you just said. It's that it does look cool. It looks really cool and awesome, but it's not just that. It's not just for games. It's not just for gimmicks or anything like that. It actually makes processes more efficient and more productive, and it really makes a difference in things and routines and processes that we do every day. It can actually make them more efficient, and it's not just to look cool. It makes things better.
And what kind of background should one ideally have in order to get into your line of work, into the AR?
I think basically for doing an AR solution to make something better, you just need to write a bit of code. And it's not even that difficult. It doesn't take months. It doesn't take even weeks, really, because these SDKs already give you everything that you need. And for example, for enterprise companies, Scandit SDK also provides that. Specifically for these enterprise use cases, but for just whatever you might want to work on, Apple's and Google's SDKs are amazing. They give you exactly what you need to create these solutions. So you just need to write a bit of code. These programming languages are pretty great as well, and it's easy to pick up. So just a few lines of code and it's done.
All right. Learning the code part is the part that we forgot. Thank you so much, Petra. I really appreciate that. Don't go, wait. We have a